I lost a lot. I would have to travel. I'd have to sleep sometimes in airports, and I didn't have a lot of money. People would believe in me. They'd even help me get there, and I'd have to come back and tell them, yeah, I lost. What I'm proud of now, it was like the best life lesson that I ever received in my life, which was like losing and not giving up.
There is a big decline. I'm looking at it from a therapeutic perspective. Like kids are going through so much depression. There's all these like intrusive thoughts that have physical symptoms.
70% of kids that grow up, they end up quitting the sport because the parents like push too much and they don't
Mhm.
know that line of coaching and being a parent and loving the kids. How would I tell somebody? Man, just love your kids, win or lose. Like, just love your kids and support them.
It's important for parents to be aware and create a really healthy atmosphere for their kids because essentially kids can't do it themselves. You're your child's voice.
Like my students, I have to say it. I have to be real and I have to not care what they're going to think about me. I'm going to tell you how I feel because I love you and I want you to do good. I want you to be your best. You can call it tough love, you can call it whatever, but I'm going to do the right thing.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Today's episode was with Professor Alberto Crane, owner of Legacy and, of course, the most popular acai jungle in Burbank. He's a founder of Legacy, which is a jiu-jitsu studio, and there are many locations: Burbank, Glendale, and most recent in Yerevan, Armenia. He is somebody incredibly powerful. He's been on shows like Joe Rogan and has his own TED Talk on perseverance and the importance of never giving up no matter what happens to you. Today's episode, we particularly dived into discipline and his philosophy: just do it. No matter what happens, just don't give up and do it. And also, how important failure is in today's society amongst our children. Failing teaches you so much, and he dived in depth into what that really looks like and how we should really talk to our kids when there is failure. Overall, a very interesting topic, very interesting conversation. We did talk a lot about martial arts. I asked him questions like how he feels about women fighters, since that's kind of not really seen in today's world as much. I mean, today, still women are overlooked for being fighters. And so we kind of dived into that world, and it was really interesting and heartwarming to see his answers. He has great energy, incredibly disciplined, and full of grit. And I think he's such an example for all parents to follow. He's been in jiu-jitsu for over 20 some years, sixth degree black belt. I think we have a lot to learn from him, and this podcast teaches you so much. So enjoy this episode with Professor Alberto Crane, founder of Legacy. Professor Alberto Crane, thank you so much for joining me today. It is such an honor to have you in my studio. I've been a follower of your work for several years, and my son actually does jujitsu at your studio. So I don't know, it's a great honor to have you today. So
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Adi. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Really excited to just dive into it and just talk about, human connection and,
Yes.
living our best life.
Yes, absolutely. Professor Crane, can you tell us what made you fall in love with jujitsu yourself?
When it was right after high school. Then my only other job besides martial arts was working at this restaurant, and some of the guys at the restaurant were doing jiu-jitsu, and one of my friends, you know, got me into going, and he armbarred me like 10 times, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, let's go again, let's go again. And then I just loved, before I even saw the UFC and I saw the effectiveness of the martial art, I just loved the way it made me feel.
That's interesting. When you said, let's go again, what mentality what was the drive force?
Just being competitive and yeah, just wanting to win. I couldn't believe that this little guy, beat me with this technique. I was like, let's go again. I can't. You're not gonna get me again. And he got me
Wow.
again and again and again.
Were you always a competitive person growing up?
Um, I don't know. I think I look at my family for sure, and they're all like, high level people and smart and hard workers, and so I think genetically I'm just kind of set up for that.
Were you raised in that type of mindset? Like, you always strive for the best?
My mom's dad, he's kind of like a father figure. I was even named after him. He was a blind attorney,
Wow.
and so he's like a super high, what do you call it, a high achiever.
Mhm.
He put himself blind through college. Actually, he lost his eyesight as a teenager. He actually can't went to a reserve, like a army reserve thing with his older brother, lied about his age and back in the day, right? And then they sent him to California because he had some sisters that lived here back in the day, and then he's like, I want to do more with my life than weave baskets. 'Cause back in those days, handicapped people
Wow, yes.
they would just have him, do things like that. So he's like, I want to do more with my life, and so he started writing to his congressman, and he got accepted to go to the university,
Mhm.
and I think they even got him to pay for it. And then they took his eyeballs out too,
Oh
when
my
because they sent
goodness.
him to Washington D.C., and so he really liked that area, and so he kind of applied for different law schools and went to Georgetown in D.C. And then he came back. He was Hispanic, and so back in those days in New Mexico, that's where I'm from. Um, a lot of people in the power, there were like white Texans and white people, and so he was like Hispanic, smaller guy, black hair, and so there's so much trauma that they didn't even like teach my mom and his brother and sister Spanish at the house
Mhm.
because they don't want them growing up with an accent, and like things like that. But also, he didn't even let my mom go to Texaco to get gas, things, because
Wow.
there's a lot of trauma. But so nobody would hire him, right? Because he was blind, and so he was just a hard worker,
Mhm.
and ended up running to become a judge, and ended up winning, and even tried like the Rosenbergs, like the guys who sold the Russians the nuclear secrets or whatever.
Mhm.
And at the local level, right, the federal, they sent them to
Mhm.
to death, right? They gave them the death penalty. But yeah, so he and then became like did kept going and became like one of the top or the biggest real estate owners in the town.
Mhm.
Just did really well and was able to help people most of his life, really invested in the community. I think probably like 40, 50 years of his life, he, worked for free as an attorney and just help
Wow.
people set up all these
Pro bono.
nonprofits, and from battered women to Boys and Girls Club that I even went to, and just everything that he could do that he believed in, he went after it.
When you say he was a father figure, was your father not present
Yeah,
in your
my
life?
dad was gone most, like, I got to live with him in high school.
Mhm.
So, when I was a kid, we moved to Germany when I was like 4 years old, and my dad moved to New York, and then I got a second chance to be around my dad in high school.
Mhm.
So, like,
How was that experience,
which part?
being around dad during
Yeah,
high school?
yeah, like, my dad is a special guy, really, really, smart and just really good person. He passed away, like, 2 years ago,
I'm
almost 2 years ago. Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Um, he, uh he, uh he one of his proudest things in his life, because I had a lot of good talks with him
Mhm.
towards the end, and like, "What are you most proud of?" And he's like, getting a second chance to be a dad," you know?
Wow.
So
What did that
so
mean for you when he said that?
I mean, at the time, I don't really process it. I was a teenager, and so I was like, oh, actually, no, he said that later on, but now, yeah. But he said things like that when I was younger, but when I was now, it kind of shows you what matters, right? And him being able to be a dad to me and my sister, my older sister,
Mhm.
um, yeah, it means the world. Like, he did his best. He had a really tough childhood, and so
Do you think it was like an apology in a way?
no, no. Like, he's very vulnerable. He was very vulnerable when I was growing up in high school. He would talk to me
Mhm.
straight. My dad found AA. He had a tough childhood, like I said,
Yeah.
and he I kind of suffered from kind of like traumas and stuff when he was a kid.
Mhm.
I think he had even like a, what do you call it? Imaginary friend. He had a doll till he was
Mm.
like 12, something crazy like
Wow,
that.
that's serious
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, and teachers and people in the schools, like my grandmother being one of them, one of his teachers, kind of looked out for him, and
Mhm.
because of those people, like, he was able to make something of
Wow.
himself. What was the question though? What did it mean to me when
Mhm.
he? Yeah, yeah, it means a lot, and it makes me kind of reflect on my life and what matters at the end, and it's for me to be for my kids, be
Yes.
be 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 there for them, And at the end of the day, that's what matters, right? Is were you there for your kids? And he got a second chance.
That's
He was
beautiful.
gone most of my childhood, I got to visit him a couple times when I was a kid. But then he kind of disappeared. But then he found an A, and he got a second chance because of doing, finding those things,
Yeah,
and was like sober till to his last days.
that's amazing. Do you miss him?
Yeah, I miss him for sure.
Right? It's
It's
hard.
sad. It's
Pairing is
sad.
it's very tough
It's sad.
anyways.
Yeah, it's sad. It's like you think they're gonna be around forever. You kind of not take it for granted, but kind of, right?
Kind
Until
of.
they're gone. You're like, oh wow.
I think it's just natural human instinct, like you never really process anything that dearly unless you kind of lose them.
Yeah, yeah. But it was good the way it happened. I was able to spend time. It wasn't sudden. It was like gradually, he kind of his body started to break down, and so I was
Yeah.
able to talk to him a lot, and then even just be there towards the end when he wasn't able to speak that well. So it was just really good, really good.
Yeah.
Uh, I got to spend a lot of quality time with him, and it was good for both of us, I think.
Do you feel like you've had a difficult childhood?
Man, I had a great childhood.
Yeah?
Yeah, I had an amazing childhood.
I love that. Um,
I'm
what do
so
you
blessed,
Yeah,
really so blessed.
I love that. That's amazing. What do you think I mean, like, I know in our modern society today, like, fathers are very overlooked. They're not appreciated as men are not appreciated
It's
as
funny how all
much.
these Father Day comedian thing jokes came up
Yeah.
during Father's Day because Father's Day was
Yeah, of
this
course.
last Sunday, right?
Exactly.
It's like the 18th ranked holiday. There's like Arbor Day is like in front of Father's
It's not. It's just
Day.
not. It's not as special as Mother's Day
Right,
is.
right.
Like dads are just not very appreciated nowadays. You feel like dads play a huge role in the lives of children.
Yeah, yeah.
You do.
Do I feel like that?
Yeah.
Man, yeah, for sure.
It's
Like
like
my
men are
mom,
important, like dads
man,
are
like my
important.
it's different a role, right, than a mother. Like
Yes, it
my
is.
cousin, my uncle's daughter, and my mom's brother's um son. My dad was an orphan, just for so I don't have any brothers and sisters on his side. Well, that I know of, right? But she says she was a counselor. Like she's really smart too, and she's like, yeah, a teacher, a coach, like you know, they can make the person go one way or the other, like just one person.
Hmm.
What was the question again? Sorry.
Are dads important?
Our dad's important. Yeah. So I
Hmm.
mean, your dad, how important is that? It's a different role. It's as I'm learning as a dad, as doing my best, right?
That's so interesting you say that. Because it is every year your child changes.
Yeah,
Like you're
yeah,
constantly learning how to like be a re-dad
yeah,
again.
yeah. And the different ages, right?
Yes, different
Um,
development.
um, so yeah, it's really important for you to be there. Like I think for their life, right? Just be there, be there for them. Know that they have that, and I
Yeah,
think that gives you confidence for whatever you do. And if you don't have a
absolutely.
dad, like sometimes the mom has to do double duty,
Yes.
but still it doesn't replace a dad. And so I think jujitsu
Mm-hmm.
stuff that I do, I realize that like I'm not nobody's dad, but the jujitsu dad, I'm just there. I'm there to support and to be there. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel that I've been doing it now for professionally for like over
Mm-hmm.
25 years. So I've seen or learned that that's kind of part of the job.
Yes.
And I take it very serious because if I don't go in there like, and I'm not saying I'm perfect every day and I'm the best every day, but I'm consistent. And
Consistent.
yeah,
Consistency.
yeah, and over 25 years of doing that almost every single day.
Is that important?
Consistency, yeah, of
Yes.
course, yeah,
In
being
martial
there,
arts,
of course,
in discipline.
anything, yeah, if anything, right? So if you want to do anything, but yeah, I think that's the main thing is being consistent and having a routine. But yeah, just going back to the father thing is important, and I've been just I think like, there's so many single moms and kids growing up without dads, and so yeah, jujitsu is like a beautiful thing because not even me, but even other men.
Mm-hmm.
For I'm just talking about the boys. And I think even for it's just a beautiful community that really helps everybody be their best.
So since we're on this topic, and it's beautiful that we just kind of naturally came to this topic,
Hmm.
there are different because to be able to be in jujitsu for such a long time, how many? I mean, it's like second degree belt you have,
So
right? Is that
So
what
no,
it's
no,
called?
yeah. So in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there's like different degrees, right? And so next year I'll get my sixth degree.
Oh
So
my god.
sixth degree, yeah, sixth degree. It means I'll have been a black belt. The first three degrees, it's 3 3 3 years, and then 5 5 5. I'll be have been uh, is that 20? I don't know, 29 plus 15, right? So that's
Oh
24 years.
my god. So that takes major discipline. I don't think that anyone could. I mean, it's no joke. Like martial arts is no joke. I think that it's not the definition of it is it's not really portrayed well, but it takes a severe amount of discipline and dedication, perseverance to be a sixth belt, a sixth degree jujitsu belt.
Hmm.
W- How do you incorporate discipline like that into your lifestyle? Pa- all parents need to know this because it's not just about more, just in general, discipline is very essential in
You
a
know,
man's
I don't
life
think
and a
about the
woman.
discipline for sure, right? But I think just me going through the steps as a young man in jiu-jitsu and just keep showing up and getting a routine and
But
all
what
the
drove you to that?
what drove me to
Showing up, not giving up.
it's interesting you said that you asked me that. You know, I think it's just having an amazing family. Like my dad, even my dad,
Hmm.
they were like hard workers, and I think that's, you know, you can have talent, right? But just I think hard working is like a gene, and
You think it's a gene?
yeah, I think so. Just having a certain work ethic, but you know, hey, you can change it with the
Hmm.
decision, with the choice.
Hmm.
But I think definitely having really the good, strong family is, or just strong players, right? My family has helped me because I've been in situations like, you know, I don't feel like it, or you know,
And
just
they
the different
push you.
situations. Not them pushing me; it's just like it's in me, inside of me. And I think I definitely had something to prove when I was young. Uh,
What was
uh,
that?
you know, like I think my dad maybe not being around, like didn't want to be like certain things that he did. You know, I didn't want to be like that, and so I think just proving that, you know, I think a lot of, you know, boys, right? They have something to prove.
Hmm.
Females too, girls too, especially when you're younger. So
Yeah.
that I was, you know, good enough or great, right?
Hmm.
I was definitely pushing that, and I think that just that energy
Yes, absolutely.
pushed
And
me. And I set some goals, right? I set some goals,
yes,
and so with setting a goal, I read a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
yes,
And so I wrote down my goals, and that's what got me. I started with it, but then once I wrote down my goals, I got laser focused, and I let this stop
yes.
me.
That's beautiful. As a professor of jujitsu and a
Hmm.
father and a human being, what do you notice that parents are making a mistake on as far as motivating their children? Because you work with kids, so
Hmm.
there's a lot of kids at your studio,
Yeah, yeah.
practicing jujitsu. And what are you noticing as a professor?
Um, what the parents, what they do wrong, or
Yeah,
okay.
because look,
I
just
mean, what depends what the intent is. It depends what the goal is. So, I mean, if you want your kid to be like a world champion, or you want to use the jiu-jitsu to have them, you know, be better, I think, at everything, which I think jiu-jitsu and martial arts is like the best. I think I believe in jiu-jitsu.
hmm
One of the best things you can do, boy or girl, to put your kids in.
is
It's like,
jujitsu.
yeah, because it really develops your motor skills, just all those things that help you
Hmm.
in everything that you're going to do. Even if they don't continue to become a world champion, those those years or that time of being on the mat, like learning how to lose, like we were talking about your son earlier,
Yes, lost
and
to a girl.
yeah, and then just
Tough
learning,
thing.
yeah, like learning how to deal with those of losing and fix, you know, and trying again.
What's fascinating to me is that when he did lose, the coaches, your coaches, were particularly there to kind of pick him up.
Hmm.
They did not scold him. They weren't like using loud voice.
Hmm.
They kneeled like Coach Marco
Hmm.
kneeled to his level, and he was just so genuine. His approach was so different. Do you feel that there's different approaches to
Oh,
discipline?
100%. Yeah. And I think everybody, because they're different, they need different approaches. Uh, at the same time, we definitely have certain like principles or certain things that we do, like
Hmm.
praise, correct, praise when we're trying to correct people, or if they did something wrong to try
Hmm.
to encourage them, right?
Yes.
So with the neuroscience, right? Like, but just doing things the right way.
What do you think? What approach is working with teenagers nowadays? What have you noticed?
Teenagers,
Yeah.
sometimes you need like tough love, but it really depends on the kid. Depends on the person. Like some people, like you don't want to like almost say anything. You let
What?
them, yeah, like they're just stubborn, and you got to let them like make the mistakes themselves and
Oh,
let them
fail.
fail, let them
Just
fail, and then just softly, like at the right teachable moments,
mm-hmm,
say things that like reinforce that to
mm-hmm.
do things this way. And some kids, you need to be like hard with them.
Tough love in psychology, and I mean, obviously, not all therapists see this as a punishment, but tough love is portrayed as punishment. Do you agree with that, or do you think tough love is needed in some boys
Um,
and girls?
yeah, it's like it's all sunshine and rainbows, right? You got to be real, and sometimes it's
Hmm.
not easy, right? And but you got to say it. If you love your kids, if you want the best for your
Yeah.
like my students, I have to say it. I have to be real, and I have to not care what they're gonna think about me. I'm gonna tell you
Wow.
how I
Yeah.
feel because I love you and I want you to do good. I want you to be your best. So I'm gonna be. You can call it tough love, you can call it whatever, but I'm gonna do the right thing.
Hmm.
That's what's best for you. What I think is what's best for you.
What requirements do you think a coach needs to have psychologically?
I think in a in a nutshell or in a
Hmm.
simple way, I would think just like that you really care. You really care. You want to make a difference in somebody's life, and I think that's the you would do it for free. Okay, yeah, it's a job, right? But you get paid, but you would do it for free. Like you love it and you want to help people.
Hmm.
I think that's the base, and then everything else
Yeah.
comes from that.
Do you have a philosophy that you live by?
A philosophy for
Just yourself, like your being, your motivation, your life that
yeah,
you teach your
there's
your
probably
kids.
there's a couple things. Just doing my best, right? Not accepting mediocrity and just being comfortable, staying in my comfort zone, like doing my best, and that means tough love with myself and just going for it. And even though I'm scared, just doing
Hmm.
it, and just doing my best, staying true to that.
Hmm. I love that. I'm gonna butcher his last name, but I don't know if you know. There is a fighter. His name is Habib. Are you aware?
Khabib, yeah.
Yes. So in an interview, he stated that women should not be fighters on the mat. Women should be fighters in the kitchen.
hmm
And I know that you're a big advocate for women fighting. What are your thoughts about
My
women in jujitsu?
my daughter's wrestling, right? And so she's like, she's made the Team California qualified for the nationals, the Fargo Nationals, in July next month.
Hmm.
And so it's interesting because actually her wrestling coach he's Russian
Hmm.
also. He's from like the Caucasus,
Hmm.
and he's Muslim, right?
Hmm.
And so it's
Wow.
tricky. Um, it's tricky. It's not tricky, but he's known her since also she's a little girl, so you care about people.
Yeah.
And I think, listen, when I was younger, there weren't any girls, there weren't any females. And
Fighters, yes.
if there was a girl in my training room, right, my gym, like she was there maybe for like another reason, like not for to be serious
Oh, I see. Yeah.
athlete,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe to meet boys or
Yeah.
whatever,
Hmm. Hmm.
So I never really took it serious until I trained with like Ronda Rousey
Uh-huh.
when she
Oh,
came by
she's
the gym, and
amazing.
she was just so legit, and she was like
Very
just
laser focused,
yeah, she
right?
was just so legit, and I was like, wow, I had no idea that it was she was tapping out all the guys. It was just like it was crazy, like tough guys too,
Yeah.
like legit, tougher guys. So anyway, it was I think, and I don't know about fighting because fighting is a if you're thinking like UFC and stuff, I'm not against it. I want my daughter. I don't want her to fight
Yeah.
MMA. I wouldn't want her to fight, but if she chooses to, I'm going to support. If they've done the work, I'm who am I to take away somebody's dreams, right?
That's interesting you say that. What is the difference between the MMA fighting and jujitsu?
Well, jiu-jitsu is only the wrestling and the grappling,
Uh-huh.
and the MMA, the UFC, MMA is like punching as
Hitting each
well. Yeah,
other.
punching in the face and elbowing, and depending on the rule set, kneeing
Hmm.
somebody in the head.
What's more important to know?
Man, I think,
There's a lot of violence in the world now.
yeah, no,
So,
no, but I think jujitsu is like, and I say jujitsu, I say wrestling too because it's a beautiful thing, and I think grappling it kind of encompasses all of it. But I think jujitsu is an amazing thing because maybe you have a friend or somebody that that is acting stupid, and you don't want to like hurt them, and also even hurt yourself. So it gives you options to control somebody and to not hurt them.
Hmm.
And so I think jujitsu, they call it, like some people call it the gentle art. I just feel like it's the best,
You just
it's the
turn him into a
best.
pretzel and leave him
Yeah,
on the
and
mat.
I think you don't. It depends. Listen, if you want to be a professional fighter, like man, we have I'm all sure. You do the work, man.
Hmm.
Let's go. Let's do it. I got your back. But just as far as for life, like you can get everything from just doing jujitsu and without the brain damage, because you're gonna get, you're gonna
Oh,
spar, you're gonna get
yes.
punched and kicked, and things are gonna
There's,
happen. But I love the grappling aspect because you don't get brain damage and you can really push yourself to your limits
yes.
as a human.
Do you consider yourself as a good jujitsu? I don't know. Can I call it a fighter?
I mean, I was a jiu-jitsu fighter. I fought professionally for 10 years.
Well,
MMA,
how would you rate
MMA.
yourself? I'm interested
I'm
to.
okay. Like jiu-jitsu, like, at the highest levels, right? When I was younger, I moved to Brazil and went all in. That was my goal. And then I started fighting. I was already a little bit older,
Hmm.
but I did my first fight. I when I was like 26. Like you're talking about Khabib, my daughters, like they joke with me too sometimes. But like Khabib, like retired at 30. I did my first like big fight at 30, so it was like it's
Yeah.
a different level, and where I was as well, going to Brazil. I was already like she's not even, she's 15,
Hmm.
and she's like, I don't know how many tournaments she's done.
Yes, I
Um,
see her.
yeah,
I
and
see
so
her.
for me, like I started jujitsu when I was 18, so it's
Mm.
a different. You can't compare, right? But I'm
Yes.
happy. I'm happy with my jujitsu career. I'm okay. I'm okay with my MMA career. I did 20 pro fights. I got to fight in the UFC
Wow.
first, and got to fight around the world. My last fight was in the south of France. I took my wife as my corner. Listen, like I've lived the dream. I've done everything I wanted to do and more that I could even have imagined, and it's made me a better person in all fronts.
Mm.
So I mean, what is success, right? What is success? What does that mean?
Exactly.
So
Everyone
from
has a different definition for it.
so man, like I get to spread the good things that it's given me to others. Like I don't know how many others at this point, because my students are teachers now, and their students are teachers, and it's like a ripple effect, right?
Hmm.
And so I mean, what is success? What does that mean, right?
Absolutely.
What I've done, what I still continue to do, what I'm so passionate about, and I'm so passionate about it still after all these years.
Yes. I think also losing is a form of success.
Hmm.
I mean, people look at it differently, but how do you coach someone that's lost and they're go ahead. You can
Go
totally
ahead, go
judge
ahead,
it.
go ahead, go ahead,
I'm
go ahead.
saying like how would you coach someone who has lost like a child because I think losing is a very important part of life and our growth in our children.
Yeah, yeah. So I, for the wrestling, I've been doing all these coaching certifications, because to be able to be there on the floor, sometimes you need like a certain level of certifications for USA Wrestling. So I did like a few of them, and like a bronze one, and it was really good. It was really good content, and it just talks about how 70% of kids that grow up, they end up quitting the sport because the parents like push too much, and they don't
Mhm.
know that line of coaching and being a parent and loving the kids. So how would I say it? How would I tell somebody? Man, just love your kids. Win or lose, like just love your kids and support them. They don't need you to,
That's parental
criticize
anxiety
or
though.
put that. Yeah, it's not about you, man. It's about your
Mhm.
kid being the best he can be. And it's hard sometimes, right? Like hey, I can raise my hand too. Like sometimes I want to say, but and I've said stuff too,
To
don't make it.
parents?
No, to even myself as a parent, but I humbly, say, have a talk after, and hey, I shouldn't have said that. But it's hard, right? Because you care, and but not. I just remember not making it about me, right? Not
How
making it
did
about
you
me.
manage that mindset of not making it about you? Because there is a lot of parental anxiety. It's I haven't had my
How do
dreams.
I manage that? I just
Yeah,
stay
how do you
focused on what I want. I want my kid to be happy and be the best that they can be, and in that process, in that way,
yeah. So if your
reach their
daughter were to ever
potential.
say like, "Dad, I want to quit," you'd be okay with that?
Well, it depends. Set your goal, and then on the way to that goal, if we agree on it, like no, I'm not gonna let you quit. You're gonna
What?
do it. You're gonna do it to the end. Yeah, if you commit, you're gonna do it.
If you commit, you're going to do it.
Yeah, if you give your word, okay, you're gonna do this. Okay, let's go.
That's interesting.
That's it. There's no like, there's no other way. Like it's like integrity, right? and I'm not going to accept
Integrity.
anything else.
Is that important in martial
Yeah,
arts?
in life, like martial
In
arts is
life
life.
too?
Martial arts, it's life, and you learn all these. That's the biggest thing that martial arts and this type of stuff gives you is like it's character development. Forget about all the medals and the trophies and the this and the that. It's like character development. It makes you a better person.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah, it's
Character
everything.
development. Uh, So then how
How
do
many
you
Olympic champions are gonna have? You know, I'm saying Olympic champions. My daughter's like doing freestyle wrestling and stuff. But like, how many Olympic champions are there every year? Every 4 years? Not even every year. Every 4 years.
Mhm. I don't know.
Only one for each weight category, if it's a girl or if it's a boy.
Yeah.
But man, everybody that's training for it, has that made you a better person? Yes. And if it's God's will, if you wanna, if the stars are aligned. But yeah, the character development, that's the biggest thing it gives you.
There's a big decline in our kids. I don't know if you're noticing this, but there is a big decline. I'm looking at it from a therapeutic perspective. Like kids are going through so much depression, teenagers, like there's all these like intrusive thoughts they have, physical symptoms, depression. Do you feel like martial arts can help with things of that sort?
Have you watched seen that TV show Cobra Kai?
No,
Okay.
I have not,
You've
but
seen Karate Kid movies?
of
Okay.
course.
So they had a TV show. It was
Of
like number
course.
one. It was actually the number one
Oh,
TV
the Cobra
series.
Kai. Yes, it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
My son watches that.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes, my son
Exactly. So it
watches
was
that.
huge, huge. All the kids were talking about it.
Yes.
I think they're gonna have another season.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, there's a time where the kid was learning from the 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 Cobra Kai
Mhm.
sensei, and he had asthma, and he grabbed his inhaler and he threw it against the wall. He's like, I have asthma, and he grabbed the inhaler and threw it against the wall and broke it. He's like, not anymore. It's a mindset. It's a choice.
Wow.
And yeah, it's black and white.
Can you
And
tell us more about that?
well, like, okay, let's talk about depression. It's like the chemicals, right? In your brain, you're getting down. So like move your body, be around the right people, and then because of your environment, you're going to be changing. And yes, some people are more susceptible to certain things, but listen,
Mhm.
like if you're on your computer all day and
Video
on the
games
phone, yeah,
and
all day inside, you're not moving your body, you're not going to feel good.
that's so
And your
true.
mind is going to be chemically inclined to go to the, if you're in Star Wars, like to the dark side.
Have you experienced dark side yourself?
Of course, you go through ups and downs in life,
How
for
did you
sure.
overcome those difficulties?
Well, I think just being around the environment of I don't, that's not like I stay there.
Mhm.
I keep moving.
Yeah, you don't get stuck there.
Yeah. Like I did a TED talk like some years
I've
back,
seen, yes.
Yeah. And so it's like, like, overcoming big obstacles, it's
Mhm.
just keep moving, right? So just keep moving, keep going. Don't stop.
Do you feel like also a good support system is needed to have that
100%.
mentality of don't
100%.
stop?
100%.
Sometimes it's
Set
hard to do it
yourself up.
yourself.
That's why I believe in these jujitsu and wrestling, these environments,
Mhm.
because when you're connected with others, you're
Yeah,
accountable. And then
absolutely.
if you're missing, hey, where you been? What's going on? And then you're connected, and not how all those things work, the quantum field and all these things. But
Mhm.
listen, if you're connected with these other people and you really care about them and they care about you, like you're not going down, man. You're not going down.
So what you're saying is it's important for parents to be aware and create a really healthy atmosphere for their kids because essentially kids can't do it themselves. You're your child's voice.
Hmm.
So when you expose them to martial arts and like I think martial arts essentially they become your family, right?
Yeah, for
Like
sure, for
it's like a
sure. Yeah,
family.
like you were talking about our coaches and stuff, and we have
Yeah.
really great coaches. Like, man,
Yeah. You
we care
do.
about
You
all these
do.
kids,
You do.
and yeah, if you're not showing up, or we're gonna be calling you,
Yeah.
and we're gonna be, hey, where you been? And yeah,
Yeah. That's amazing. How do you choose your coaches? How do you
well, I think what's that, when the master's there, when the student's ready, the master will appear. I think we find each other. Like if you have that inclination, you kind of end up going on that path. But I also look. I've been doing it now for so many years. I definitely see people that have the potential to
Yeah.
to be great
They
coaches,
are.
great instructors. And I think at the bottom line is like, they would do it for free. It's almost not a job, and they would do it for free. They love it,
Yeah,
and they have that
absolutely.
personality.
How do you think, other than the body movement, Professor, how do you think or feel that martial arts can help children right now struggle? There's so many of them are struggling right now. How does it help with their mental health? What other ways
With
are there?
movement,
Yeah, the
how does that
movement.
help?
Yeah, like how does it help a child's mental health? I mean, the key point here is that
So
the
so
decline
I
in
mean, do you
mental
want me to
health
go
in
down to
kids.
the scientific kind of
Yeah.
way? I mean, listen, like when you move your body, or different hormones get released in your body,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you connect your, if, I am really into tac fit, and when you connect your breath
Yes.
to your movement and have the correct structure, like if my traps are up like this and I frown, like
Tense
I'm
and
gonna the hormones are gonna get released. If I smile and I pack my shoulders down and I have my chest out,
mm-hmm.
the other hormones are gonna get released. So when you move in the right way, like,
Trick in the brain.
yeah, the right hormones, the good hormones are gonna be released, and you're gonna start to feel better, right? The
Yes.
hormones are how you feel, and you keep doing it. You basically, calibrate the the right mindset with getting the right chemicals in your brain and
Mm-hmm.
your body. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, you move, and we're designed to move. And if we don't move, we get sick.
We do. And this is why I keep pushing this conversation of then kids who are so locked in their house and locked in their phone. What can the parent do to get this child moving? Is it
That's a
this
great question, right? Because
strict?
it's not just like my son. Like, my son, he plays video games, and he plays way too many hours of video games.
How
So
do you handle that?
yeah, it's hard, right? So we like force him to bring people over, have people call people, and then luckily he goes into the gym, and
Hmm.
we make him go,
So you
and he
struggle with the
enjoys it.
same thing
Yeah,
kind
for
of as a
sure.
girl?
For sure. Like my girls are not so much, right? They don't
Yeah.
even play video games. My son, yeah. Um, it's what the world we
It's
live
their
in.
generation now.
Yeah, yeah. But I just love him. Same thing with tournaments and things like that. I just love him, and just try to set him up for
Yeah.
the right environment, right?
Do you consider yourself as a strict father?
I think my Armenian wife is definitely the more of the disciplinarian. But when there are
You're the
things,
chill dad?
well, when things aren't right, like, if you commit to something, like, and I'm gonna be hardcore, like, you could just feel my energy. If you're not gonna, if you say you're gonna do something and you don't
Yeah.
do it, like, nah, it's war. You're
Do you
gonna
have
do
that
it.
stare when they
No,
look
you're
at
gonna
you?
do
They're
it. If
like,
you say you're gonna do something, you do it.
yeah. I think it goes.
It's black and white.
I
If you say
agree.
you're gonna do it, you do it.
Do you feel it? Well, I was watching a podcast a couple of years ago, and it said not only if you're going to say something, do it. If I remember it verbatim, it said you also have to follow through with the consequences that you set. Like if you say, if you play one more hour, if I find you do this and you're not obeying the rules, you also have to follow through with consequences. Do you believe that consequences are
For
important?
sure. As a parent to your kid,
Yes.
absolutely, yeah. And I'm guilty of that too sometimes. Like, you just don't
You
pay
let it
attention.
slide.
You let it slide, but both me and my wife, we were learning, right? We're
Yeah.
always learning, and so it's like, yeah, like you can't do that. If you say this, you got to stick with that, and you got to be hard. Like, speaking of
Yeah.
tough love, and they
Yeah.
can cry, they can be upset, but doesn't matter. You have to do the right thing. That's the right thing for them.
And sometimes I feel like for a lot of parents that are watching, it's this sometimes the wrong, doing the right thing feels awful as a parent, in
Right,
this
right,
tough love situation.
right.
It's hard seeing your kid
And you
break
want your
down.
kid, to love you, and
Yeah.
but it's not. Part of that is being tough with them, not allowing them to do whatever.
Do you believe that it's your child's job to respect you instead of love you?
Um, their job they already love us. They already love
You think
us.
so?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they love us. Like, they're born loving us. And
Have you heard
then
that saying before?
about what?
That your child, you shouldn't strive for your child to love you.
Yeah,
You
yeah. I
should
think I
push
agree
your
with that.
child to respect
I
you
agree.
instead.
I agree with that. I shouldn't say one or the other. Just both. But respect is what you want to.
Push for.
Yeah, you don't need to be their buddy.
So how do you gain your child's respect?
By
What's your
following through on, you say you're not going to be allowed to do this if this happens, and following through with
leadership,
it.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And,
think
and not getting, not letting your emotions get the best of you, and
mhm,
staying calm, and explaining why you're doing this.
yeah. I think that if a child
And it's
is
going to be again and again and again. I have
yeah.
3 teenagers.
Yeah.
So it's like again and again and again. And it doesn't matter. You're committed to the cause.
Yeah. I think parents need to learn how to be parents and good leaders because I feel like once there's a voice louder than yours, then you're kind of battling for the first seat there.
Hmm.
There's an issue there. I don't know. I firmly believe in that leadership. Like we have to do a better job being good leaders.
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like society has kind of scared us into being parents nowadays. We're so scared of being parents. I mean, look at your day. You would have probably had a few smacks here and there growing up. Like I know in my time, the Soviet time, it was so different. Like, how dare you raise your voice? It was so different.
Yeah, like Eastern European, right?
Yeah,
Like
and your
Armenia.
it's absolutely. But
It's
it's
like you don't talk back to your parents.
yes,
You respect your elders, right?
absolutely.
And here the kids are like,
I'll call the cops.
I mean, stuff, crazy stuff, right? Like, it's like
It's
I'll
so
smack my
hard.
kids. They don't listen. My wife, she's like, no, it doesn't work. And I'm like, you
I
know,
mean, like, but that's how we were raised, and I don't think that
I don't need to even
fear.
get there. I have
Correct.
that energy,
Yeah,
like,
that's
and
what I was saying. The
they
stare.
know it's right.
Yeah.
If I feel like that strongly about something, like your word, or if you're saying, following through with things,
Hmm.
like, no, like you're gonna do it.
Yeah, I
And I'm fully
believe that.
committed. There's no like,
That committed.
there's no
Yes,
gray area, and they appreciate it. They
I'm
appreciate it
sure.
after, and then
After,
yeah, and they
after.
love you. And there was an example of, I don't know, my daughters came home and told my wife basically like, hey, like, hey, their friend lets their parent do whatever. They allow them
Oh
to do
yes.
whatever, and they're like, do you want me to be like that? They're like, no.
Wow.
So even they might complain, they appreciate that. And
Yeah.
when I discipline my son sometimes, like afterwards, and I say it in a calm way, like explain to him, you feel the love. They appreciate because they know it's like from the
Yeah.
right place. And I think that's the important thing.
Yes, I agree. I mean, abuse is never the answer. Obviously, you guys were. I'm kidding, but like it's. I feel like in my day it was very different. That there was this fear instilled, but
Hmm.
I don't think that respecting. I don't know what your thoughts are about this, but I don't think that fear is respect. What do you think? Do you think fear is respect?
It's, like, I think, with the spare the rod, spare the child, right? That whole thing, it's out. I listen to my wife a lot too on things,
Hmm.
on her advice. She's really smart. She has a really good sense too. And you know what? Like, I think it's important to be yourself, and not try to sugarcoat things and beat around the bush, and just be real. And it's
Hmm.
important, I think, as people, females, and men, and women. I think it's important to be yourself, be authentic. And you know what? If I get mad, I'm gonna get mad.
Yeah, of course. You have a
I'm not
right
gonna
to.
I'm not gonna, I don't need to get physical. I don't need to do any of that.
Of course.
But if I feel a certain way, I'm gonna say how I feel.
Yeah.
And if I was too much, listen, like, I'm human. I'm sorry. I'll apologize.
Yeah. I agree with
But
you.
people appreciate that.
I think kids appreciate that. I mean,
Yeah.
like you look at your mom, you look at your dad, you look at your role models. They were strict, I'm sure. Aren't you grateful for that now that you look
Um,
back?
yeah, I was telling you, like, my dad wasn't around when I was a kid, but my mom, she double duty, most of
Yeah.
my childhood. Yeah, for sure. I appreciate all the lessons, and sometimes it's not easy lessons
Yeah.
to digest, but I'm grateful for all of it. Yeah, my even my grandparents, who, my grandfather, who's blind, he would chase me with a hanger,
Oh my
no,
God,
and a
that's
belt,
so cute.
yeah. And I got smart. I would like hide and be quiet so he couldn't find me. But yeah, I appreciate all
That's
those things.
evil.
Yeah, I know. I know.
It's
I know.
evil.
But
Oh my God.
I appreciate that he loved me enough, cared about me enough,
Yes,
that he would, you know, try to teach me a lesson in the best way he knew.
absolutely. Professor Crane, how was Legacy born?
How was Legacy born?
Yes, give us the
Um,
details of the birth
so
of
at the end of
Legacy.
this year, it'll be 25 years. We'll have our 25-year
Oh
anniversary.
my God.
And I came back from Brazil.
Amazing.
I was 23 years old, and I was deciding where I was gonna go and
Mhm.
start a school. And I was like, okay, if I had a choice to live wherever I wanted, I decided to stay in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And it's a small town. It's like 60,000 people. The If I was thinking about business things, like it wouldn't have. I don't know. I just thought that I wanted to. This is where I felt at home,
Mhm.
and so I decided to stay in Santa Fe, and I started my first gym there. And Yeah, I ended up just putting out some flyers and some bulletin boards. And then my mom was really smart with getting me in some newspapers, and I got my location was on the main street. I was able to get a temporary place right on the main street,
Mhm.
and so that's how I got people in the door. And then they felt my energy. I was a young man, but I was very focused, and I really cared about the people, and they stayed till this day.
Wow. Are you proud of yourself?
Man, it's like
How good
I'm
does it feel?
man, it's surreal. You see, many of my kids are now dads, and they bring their kids in to train with me. And there's no greater like honor and gift that you can say anything you want, but like people can say things, but like that action is just like there's no words I can say of how it makes me feel of success. Are you successful where man, what is that worth? Like, yeah, all those hardships, losing, breaking things and injuries and just all the craziness that happens along the way of competing at the highest level and jujitsu and then fighting. And it's like it's all part of the process. And I get to help people live their best, be their best. From little kids with little 2, 3 year olds to
Mhm.
our oldest guy's like almost 80. We call him Savage, So it's like, he came in today and sharing with me some personal things, and I'm just there. I'm there. I'm like he could be my dad.
Yeah.
And so it's beautiful because they trust me, and I'm there. I'm there for them.
Professor Crane, you just shared that there was hardships and there was difficulties in this path of yours. How did you keep this mindset of not giving up? I know you said shared that it's a gene, it's a DNA, it's just kind of instilled in you. But what about people that are on the verge of giving up? What advice would you give those people?
How did I not give up?
Yeah.
I think there was like a little voice in my head, like try again. And so you down, and you feel like, oh, but there was just a little voice in the back of my head, like try again. And I listened to that voice. I had my pity party when I would lose whatever,
Hmm.
and I would just bounce back and try again.
Did you bounce back on your own and you had or supportive family to
I
encourage you
mean,
with
listen, I
words?
was on my own at
You were on
those
your own
early
at the
age.
time?
Yeah, because it didn't make sense. What am I doing in Brazil competing in jiu-jitsu?
Hmm.
Like, what future is that at the time?
Why were you asking yourself that question?
Like, what am I doing in Brazil? What am I doing here?
Like what your purpose is?
Yeah, what am I doing here?
Hmm.
Like, I lived on this island in Rio. We lived in this abandoned house. And yeah, I wake up and, like, what am I doing here? I'm on the other side of the world.
Were you sad?
Was I sad? Yeah, when I would lose, I would be sad, and they make me like really get me in that thing. I like, what am I doubt myself, right?
Mhm.
But then I'd sleep it off, wake up in the morning, and then be like, there'd be a little voice like, try again, try again. So I was my advice to somebody would be just shake it off, shake off all those negative feelings, and try again.
It's so hard for
I'll
people.
tell you another story. Like when I
Please.
first started competing in jujitsu, I I lost. I lost a lot. So the first 13 tournaments that I did actually lost either the first or the second match, and it's kind of crazy that I kept going because it was really hard for me. There weren't that many tournaments, and I would have to travel. I'd have to sleep sometimes in airports, and I didn't have a lot of
My
money.
goodness.
And so, but I was traveling all over the U.S. and Brazil, in the country, and out of the
Mhm.
country, because like I said, there weren't that many tournaments, jiu-jitsu tournaments, period. Um, and it'd be hard because people would believe in me. They'd even help me get there, and I'd have to come back and tell them, yeah, I lost, I lost,
Mhm.
I lost, I lost. But what I'm proud of now, it was like the best lesson, best um, teach, like, yeah, best life lesson that I ever received in my life,
Which was,
which was like losing for all
yes.
length of time
You see?
and not giving up. It was like almost like I don't even know how long, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Like who does that? And I was young. So
Yes.
after I finally won a tournament, it was in Brazil. I competed at the Worlds at the time, and I ended up being like, yeah, one of the top blue belts in the world, and I followed that all the way through to black belt.
I
And
think
that was the lesson that, man, after that, like nothing, no, obstacle, no challenge is too hard. And one thing is that it ingrained the mindset of never giving up.
what you're saying, I think, is that there's no better success than losing because it sets you up for such successors in life.
Right, right.
And most parents are afraid of their child
I
losing.
mean,
So
just
they go
people, right? We're
very scared to
scared to
lose,
lose, and so they don't even
fail,
try.
lose.
There's that Teddy
Yes.
Roosevelt, right? Like
Yes.
the man in the arena, and like I share with my daughter competes, and I share to all my kids actually. Just for them to like, man, you want to be one of the souls that have never even tried,
Oh,
and criticize the people that have, and because they
be
lose, they're
bitter and all that stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, or just go for it and be ready to lose. And part of the winning is losing.
Yes, it's
And
such a good
you
lesson.
learn objectively, you do objective analysis after you win and lose, and then you grow from that experience.
Yeah. Jordan Peterson, he talks a lot about
Hmm.
this where, it's like a kid comes home and he's won like sixth place. Immediately the parents like, here, like you get this award. And it's like, no, like just tell them like sixth place sucks. Next time, try for the first place. I don't know. Do you agree with that? That a
Of
lot of
course,
parents like,
yeah, set your goals high,
set your goals
or
high.
else
Why
you're
are
gonna
you
be
giving this,
sad and like not happy.
or like
You
at
want your kids to strive for greatness, be their
100%.
best. Like you asked me about my motto, whatever, and it's like doing my best, and that starts
Yes.
from me and myself. Whatever it is, me
Yeah.
going for it, me not being scared, me being scared and doing it anyway.
You know what also is a big issue? That people don't see that they deserve the best.
Hmm.
That's a big issue in today's modern
Right?
society.
It's not so simple. It's not like
It's,
one thing or the other. It's
yeah,
all connected.
it is all connected. There's a big psyche around this. And it's unfortunate that I think uh, self love is important first. Like, I love the mantras and I love like the discipline and the philosophy of do your best. Absolutely, everybody deserves that. But people have to also feel that, right? Like I have to feel like I deserve the best in order to push myself. What do you think?
On feeling like that, like
Yeah, like I have to feel like I deserve the best in order to push myself to be the best. What do you think?
I think even if you don't feel that way, if you take action and you surround yourself with the right people, you can overcome that negative self-talk.
Yes.
Because listen,
It is a negative
who's our worst
self-talk.
enemy? It's our own
Ourselves.
selves. So if you surround yourself with the right people that give you
Yes.
energy, and
Yes.
then you just take action towards a goal, like there's no stopping you.
There is no stopping you.
Like this
Absolutely.
that was that I saw the Dana White's his health coach.
Dana White's?
Yeah, yeah, he was talking about um the law of attraction and just
Mm-hmm.
the constructive wave interference.
Mm.
Like when you're next to somebody, like
Mm-hmm.
people can give you energy, or
Yes. Duality. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
deconstructive wave interference, or lower your frequency. So we're all frequency, right? We're
Of
like, if we look at an
course.
atom, we're 0.00001 mass, and we're mainly energy, 0.9999
Yes,
whatever
sir. Yes,
energy.
sir.
Okay, our eyes are formulated so we can't see through each other, but we're energy and we
Of
feel
course.
it.
We feel
We can
it.
raise each
Yes.
other's frequency, or we can bring it down. And
Absolutely.
so whoever you're around, and I think that's leadership, right? And listen, you can develop it. You can develop
Can
it.
you teach us how?
How?
Yeah.
Listen, get around the right people.
Yes.
Make a choice if that's what
Winners,
you want.
right?
Yeah. Get around make a choice and then set yourself up, like I did when I did jiu-jitsu. When
Yeah.
I set my goal that I wanted to be the best and all that, and I set myself up. I
Yes.
didn't have the right people around me, so I read books.
Role models are important as
Right,
well,
but
right?
I had a few mentors that really took a liking to me, good business
Yeah.
people, but I didn't, day to day I didn't, and so I I read books and I surround myself with that information. And
Absolutely.
then I moved to Brazil. I masterminded, or I set myself with a mastermind group of, people that were on the same
Yeah.
wavelength.
Professor Crane, any advice for um, maybe parents or their children, anything that can help them or their children get motivated into this, fall into martial arts or start with martial arts? This is, a lot of parents are like, my kids don't want to do anything. They're lazy. They just want to stay home in the summertime. I can't get them to go to camp and etc.
It's a common. It's
It
common. You
is. It's
couldn't,
so
right? You
common. And
couldn't. You
as a
couldn't.
coach, as a professor, what can you
Right back in the day, like you couldn't get your kids back into the house, and now you can't get them out of the
out of the
house.
house?
It's a common thing, right?
And it's an unfortunate thing as well.
Um, Listen, like, I mean,
Drag
if you
them
can,
out.
yeah, like make them do it. Make them do
Make
it.
them do it.
Speaking of like,
Model it, right?
yeah, and exactly. That's one of the biggest things is your example.
You don't know how many times he's like,
I'm
Mom,
like,
you should go to the mom's jujitsu class. And I tried it once. I loved
that's
it.
great. You did
But
it.
I did it. I did
And
it for
he saw
him.
you do it. Yeah.
He did. And he was
And
laughing the
that's,
entire
yeah, that doesn't
time.
matter. Exactly.
But he was so motivated and he was encouraged. And I genuinely wanted
I think, yeah,
for him
monkey see,
to see
monkey do.
that.
You can say all
Monkey,
you can you can
yes.
say all you want. You can tell somebody to do all they want, but your example, especially as a parent,
Yeah.
is the biggest influence, right?
Yeah.
Like
I
a lot of
agree.
I shouldn't say a lot, right? But like many have many black belts, and they bring their kids in,
Mhm.
right? And that
I've seen
example of,
them. I've
right,
seen them.
right, and so the dad being a black belt sets such an example for their kid.
Yes.
Like you can say all the words you want, but just him taking that action and just following through with things
So true.
is like, no, that's how it's done. And
So
so
true. Now
that's
that's good parenting on another level. I agree. It's always modeling that.
modeling. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Professor Crane. It was such an honor to speak with you.
you got it.
Learned so much. And you guys make sure you visit Legacy. I don't know. Do you have space? It's
Yeah,
so,
we have
you
locations
have
in
so
Burbank,
many
right?
kids.
LegacyBJJ.com, Burbank, we have, and then Glendale as well, and Pasadena,
Mhm.
amazing schools. We have one of my black belts is in West Adams by
Mhm.
USC as well.
Yeah.
One in Armenia, Yerevan, Legacy Yerevan,
I saw that. That's such an
and then
awesome
one of my
accomplishment.
really close friends in Brazil, the city where I lived in a lot of years. There's a legacy there now too. But
You're
yeah, we're
so
definitely growing.
busy.
Yeah, no, we have a really good team. Really good people, really like amazing people involved, like true leaders. I'm really proud of that. I'm really
That's your
proud
energy.
of the work we do. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, you attract your favorite clients. You attract your favorite people with your energy. I literally swear by that. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you.
Yes, of course.